fight fans, or should I say fight nerds, baby. Fight nerds after Saturday night. Woo! I mean, the fight nerd camp continues. Man, let's start right there. Caio Borralho, to me, I mean, he wins rounds 1, 3, and 5. I had it all the way. You could have stopped the fight in the 5th round on Saturday night, but he gets a nice win. First of all, I'll start with you, Bobby. Your thoughts on just Caio's win on Saturday night?
He looked very good. He started out really good, and then looked, he still looked good, but he looked like he was taking some damage. And it's like, oh shit, this is turning around quickly. And he found that second win, fought through that. I was surprised at the lack of grappling, but at the same time, I can't really blame him because he likes to have those exciting fights. As far as it not being stopped, I think that's kind of on him. If he didn't engage with the grappling and just walked off, they probably would have called that fight because Jared went down. The slow motion on that was that was wild. But I actually I guess my scorecards didn't really match what a lot of the people are saying because a lot of people had him 3-1. I had it pretty much 2-2 going into the 5th.
I did too. I had it 1. I had Caio 1 and 3 and 5, and I had Jared 2 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, it was about as close of a fight as you could get with quite a bit of damage. That cut on his eye was wild. I'm glad they didn't check on it much because
luckily it was below the eye and not above the eye.
Yeah, no, you saw it opening up at the press conference. That was brutal. But it's kind of odd that he didn't. I think the only reason he didn't get the finish is he decided to engage in the grappling when he knocked him down there. But it's pretty consistent with Big Dan letting it go. So I don't really have an issue with the stoppage. Or lack of stoppage, I guess you'd say. I do understand, why don't we err on the side of being safe? But especially when you look at what happened to him in his last fight, he probably appreciates being given that if you ask him. But big test, and he definitely passed it with flying colors, especially going through the adversity in the second, because he was looking like he was fading, and then all of a sudden it just snapped right back into it.
Yeah, his legs got a little weary. What's your thoughts on the fight nerds winning on Saturday night?
Man, first off, big shouts out to Caio Borralho. You hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah, first, like I said, big shouts out to him because, I think we were talking about it, Cannonier coming back. Before the injury, Cannonier was on that upswing, possible middleweight contendership for, being one or next up for a title. So him taking on Borralho, even though the ranking didn't necessarily suggest it, this was one of those where the fight pretty much is going to catapult Borralho straight to 7, maybe 6?
No, he's 4. He got 4.
Shit. Holy crap. I didn't even think 4.
He jumped all the way up.
Yeah, but he jumped all the way to 4. Like, the last thing I think we said last week was, they put Cannonier out there and to pretty much stop him and see if it was real. And he showed up. I think I'm with you guys on the 2-2.
My bad. Caio's 5. He's 5 now, not 4.
Okay, that makes sense. I think I'm right there with you guys with the 2-2. There was a time, there were several times where Cannonier was awake. Those leg kicks, eventually was like, okay, because he had to do something. You saw a lot of stand switching from Cannonier. You saw a lot of really good striking, which eventually ended up like Bobby said with the cut under his eye. Shout out to the elbows. But man, like Cannonier's got a chin, but he's also got like a really deep tank because he was out, down, finished twice for sure. You know what I mean? And just like you guys mentioned, in any other fight, that definitely would have been some stoppage. But I mean, kudos to him. I think that this isn't the end of Jared Cannonier, but right now this definitely puts a halt on whatever plans he had going forward because Rahayo basically went in there and took on a veteran, someone like I said who's been in has knockout in 3 weight divisions. Like that's a big deal for Rahayo. But yeah, fighting nerds, the camp. They're not playing, man. They got some heavy hitters.
Undefeated this year, the camp is.
Just like that old American top team. You know what I'm saying? Then the AKA guys came and took over for a minute. Then saying that Winks Jackson came out for a minute, and now we got these fighting nerds, and they just sweeping to several divisions right now. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this. There's finally some new blood in this middleweight division. You got Kyle Baharo, who is number 5, Nasruddin Imanov, who beat Jared Cannonier earlier this year, and he's taking on Brendan Allen. You got, and then even if you scroll down, if you got even a little bit further down the rankings, we got Anthony Hernandez and Michelle Pereira. Which one are you out of these young middleweights coming up, whether it's Allen, whether it's Bahayo, or Imanov, or even a guy like Anthony Hernandez or Michelle Pereira? Which one are you like buying stock in as far as a guy that could be a future champion?
You named one, because I was with the Pateria and Pereira fight. That I thought was one of those tests where, okay, look, we see him, we heard about him. Let's see what he does exactly. He's got a fight coming up on the 19th. What did he get? Let's see who is he fighting on the 19th. But yeah, he's got another fight coming up on the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to look and see who it is now. But in the end, like his fighting style is exciting. He's not really somebody you can sleep on. He has shown the capacity to get out there and grapple. And of course, in the middleweight division right now, these are some really scrappy guys where it's not just all strikers. No, there's some tough, serious wrestling in this division, and you have to be able to withstand being on your back a little bit. And he is definitely one of those guys. When I put him, if right now, let me see, Pereira is 14. Okay, he took a tough loss. I get it. I definitely understand. But somewhere in there, we get up to 10. We got Roman Dolidze at 10. I think that would be he's definitely on an upswing. And after this next match, we have to see what happens first. But in another one, like you said, you got Jack Hermanson. Like these are guys who have taken losses, but they somehow, some way, still seem to put on exciting fights. And I want to see what happens with them, especially in their next two, and before the end of the year for those two guys.
So who you buying stock in as a guy though that you think out of those younger guys? Pierre, okay. I like Michelle Pierre. Right. What about you, Bobby? Who's the guy out of these younger guys in the middleweight that you're buying stock in to kind of become UFC champion?
I think the nerd is on the best path.
I don't want to see him, but
when I saw, the first time I saw him on Contender, I definitely thought, whoa, he could definitely, be somebody. And then you notice I started seeing him a lot more on Contender, but it wasn't fighting. He was coaching other guys, and that was slowly the beginning of the fighting nerds, like pretty much getting them all in the UFC and stuff. And, the main reason I say that is when you look at where he is now at 5, it's only top guys. And I think, in buying stock in him, I think he should fight Izzy next. That would be quite entertaining on the eyes to
watch.
Doesn't
he have the name though? That to me, it doesn't quite have the sizzle or the name for Izzy. You know what I mean? I know no matter what Izzy does, he's going to be the A side and the other guy's going to be the B side.
I think that fight gets Izzy up in the morning, especially watching that fight with Cannonier. Mm-hmm. He was definitely already on his radar because he is very involved in the division and knowing all that shit. And, I think it's a great opportunity for Izzy to stop that momentum and stuff. And yeah, I mean, you can make the argument, would he want to go that far down when he legitimately could just wait around and possibly get the title shot next if Strickland ends up winning or something? But, Eugene did say he wants to fight by the end of the year. And, I don't know if that cut will be healed for the nerd there. But I don't know. That, to me, that is because I was trying to figure, like, what's next for Izzy, like, last week. And I was, not really sure. And now I feel like we got our answer. But I could understand at the same time, maybe that ain't worth it for him. But, Izzy doesnn fight on a winning show. He gets all his money for whoever he fights. And when you see the damage that he did to Cannonier, I think that, I think that gets him more excited than some of these guys at the top. But
and Kaio's shown that he's going to stand and bang, like you said. Like it was surprising he didn't.
Maybe I just think that high of him, and that's why I'm like in the buying stock. I'm saying, hey, give him the Izzy fight because I really think it's time to give him that stage and put him against the best.
Yeah, the guy I like Kaio a lot. I really do. So just to kind of be different, I'm going to say Brendan Allen. He's got a fight in 2 weeks later in the end of September against Imanov. Imanov's 4. So if he beats in France, if he beats him in Allen is on a 7-fight win streak right now. So he's kind of putting it together. He can wrestle real well. He's got he's got some good hands too. He's another guy that I feel like can be right there. He's kind of training with Joe Pyfer, who's another guy I really like. It's just not quite in the rankings yet. But I'm very high on All In Brandon Allen. He beats Imanov and gets to number 4. I don't want to kill off Kaio and Brandon Allen right now, but man, that would be, you know what I mean? Right there. He's right there. Maybe he gets the loser of Strickland and DDP if you're matching up Izzy and them. Maybe it's a title shot next.
I really like Brendan Allen versus Izzy just as much, actually. That would probably be what I would have picked before Saturday there. And he's definitely right there, about to break in the door. I mean, and rightfully so, like you said, 7-fight win streak.
Yeah, if he goes into France and wins and beats Imanov in France, he could be very well next. I mean, it depends to me if Whitaker if Hamzat shows up. If
Notice none of us said Hamzat in this question.
Hamzat. No, we can't count on him. Somebody sneezing on him and not making it through TSA.
But that is kind of wild though, because that would have been the answer a year ago.
Definitely.
If Hamzat shows up and Whitaker, I think the winner of that fight gets the title shot next, especially Hamzat. But you just can't buy it until you know what I mean. Saying Hamzat's getting in the octagon is like saying Conor McGregor's getting in the octagon, and I don't know if either one's going to ever happen right now. So
at this point, I think they're just going to give him a title shot.
Conor or Hamzat or both?
Chimaev, because they don't know if they can get him into the octagon for the number 1 contender fight. So they're just like, people want to see him. Why not? And
they don't know if they can get him in the octagon, and they don't know if they can get him in the United States either.
Yeah, no one wants.
So the main point is just throw him out there while you can. Put him right there at the top. As soon as we get him, title shot, buddy. Hey, COVID test. Go get in the ring. That's it.
Yeah.
And real quick, I wanted to throw this out there because I couldn't. I found it now. So when I was talking earlier about Michelle Lima Piera, right? He's got the fight with Anthony Hernandez. Hernandez is another one of those guys on the bottom right now who's slowly creeping up, made a little bit of noise. When he fought Kiployev, Kapopov, it's one of those Russian cats. But Hernandez is making a little bit of noise. They call him fluffy, but you know what I'm saying, the game in the ring is definitely not. I like these two. I like that as like one of those matchups where you know somebody's got to get up higher in that 10-11 rank. Because right now Hernandez is at 13. Pierre Lima is at 14, and somehow, some way, you know, once again, like we talked about just now, there's almost like a rotating door of guys between like 7 and 12 almost, where they're losing, but they're losing really, really tough matches. And you know, of course, when I say 7, I mean starting right there, Jared Cannonier. And then Marvin Vettori, we haven't really heard much from him because he's always on again, off again. Last fight, he lost to Cannonier. Then he won against Dola
He hasn't
Dees.
fought in a year, right? That was almost a year ago.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a loss 2 weeks ago to Brendan Allen in the casino.
No, hey, did you not hear Gerald Mershart? That was a guy that looked like Brendan Allen.
Oh,
yeah. Mershart is a homie for sure.
Hey, right? Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Me and Brendan Allen, we was at my crib chilling together.
Right.
That was the guy that looked like Brendan Allen.
He made me go back and watch the video again. I'll tell you that.
Right. It makes you think.
Hey, Gerald is a G, man. That's some true homie shit right there.
Right.
Yes.
No.
He got respect from the streets right there. That's why Jared was able to win on Saturday. If he would have put him on blast, he would have lost. But karma was like, you know what? You stood up for your guy. You gonna win on Saturday, baby.
Right. Definitely. That's definitely the point.
Off air, we were talking about kind of the squat sitters. Marvin Vettori is one of those guys that I feel like has just been just stuck there. Like he doesn't fight enough. And he's just always there. Like he never moves up or down now anymore. It's just stuck.
Yeah, I think his last fight or two, he's like pulled out. So I don't know if he's been doing some injury things. I mean, he's fairly entertaining and he makes me laugh. He's definitely
the Italian stallion, right?
He's more of that old guard. In the middleweight division, because like you look at the middleweight division and it's like kind of split up with these young up and comer guys and these guys that have been there for a while, like Whitaker and Izzy, and that's the main thing is that everyone always used to shit on this division, but it's pretty exciting, and especially at the top and in the top 10.
We're getting some new blood. Yeah, his last fight was June 17th of last year. So he hasn't fought in over a year.
Yeah, he hasn't fought in over a year, but he's at every event. He's talking trash in the camera every chance he gets. I mean, for a personality, and you said it right, Bobby. There's that mix of the old guard. Him, Paulo Costa somewhere.
Yeah, Hermanson.
They're there. They are the gatekeepers in this division. But he's not active, unfortunately. Paulo Costa, just a little more active, even though he just came off of a loss. I said, 2 losses. So for me, once again, that middleweight division is one where the rotation is so crazy that any one of these guys, and we just saw it, Bahario just leapfrog from what I think it was 12 or 11 to 5.
Well, that's why some of these guys, they don't want to, and kudos to Jared Cannonier, right, for not squatting on his spot. Like he fought down in the rankings, took the risk, and he lost twice now. I mean, he fought Roman Dolidis down in the rankings, and then he fought this fight pretty low, a low guy, and lost. Like I don't
think very many people wanted to take that fight with Bahario, though. I think that the consensus is still out on like his skill level, but his hands are so lethal that people are afraid to go in there and get knocked out. And once again, like Jared Cannonier withstood several times where I thought, hey, oh my God, it's over. They're gonna cancel it. But I think that he really woke up the division, and that's why I think Bobby mentioned it. Throwing a name out there like Israel Adesanya is like saying, okay, now let's get to the big boys. You really showed everybody last week or whatever, but let's where we really make the bread. But we'll see what Uncle Dana thinks, I guess, within a month or so.
Yeah, speaking in another month or so, in about a month's time, a little less than a month's time, we're getting UFC at the Sphere, and the tickets are struggling. If you look at, you can still get tickets to that, and they're still quite expensive. What do you guys think is the struggle here? Is it? I mean, first I saw the prices for food. It's like $30 for a damn water. I ain't paying $30 for water, even if Jesus baptized that bitch and said this is the holy water. I ain't paying $30 for it. But is it the prices? Is it the card isn't that stacked? What do you think the struggle is here trying to sell out at the Sphere, Whit?
I heard there was a Bad Bunny concert that week, so it's really hard to compete. But seriously though, man, it's. I think
is it Canelo? I mean, Canelo fights that same night.
Yeah, I think the thing is Mexican, what is it? Mexican Noche night or whatever, and somehow, some way, we don't have a big Hispanic name to throw out there for you right now to grasp to this card. But that doesn't mean that the card isn't exciting. But the essence of what it should be is being held with the Canelo fight. You know what I mean? Like the Canelo fight is and we'll get into that a little bit later. September's a big month for fights anyway, but the Canelo Berlanga fight is probably drawing way more attention than most people would expect when you say out loud that there's a UFC pay-per-view, with one of the best fighters in the UFC, most exciting fighters in the UFC going at it, and then you got a Canelo fight. This time, in this setting, the Canelo fight, I think, and the card itself is trumping the UFC event. And it's in the Sphere. I think people are skeptical of what a Sphere event is like. You know what I mean? It's not the U2 concert, which I heard was freaking awesome, visually, but a UFC fight in the Sphere, how will the production be? What are we, what I'm saying? Like, what are we going for? When you go to an arena, when you go to, any like the Apex, what's going on at the Apex. We have yet to see a full spectacle of what's going to happen in the Sphere, especially with an event like a UFC fight. I think this is one of those where if it's great, if it's awesome, if they use the Sphere's technology to surround the inside of the Sphere so you can technically see the fight from any angle, even if you're in bad seats, like that is what people I think are waiting on. It's an untapped resource that's only been used for as a large concert venue or somewhere you can view the Planet Earth docu-series. You know what I'm saying? But we want to have a UFC fight. People are skeptical. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine the first time somebody tried a pancake. It's like, man, you flipped this in a pan twice, and you want me to eat it? Before you took a bite out of it, you were skeptical. I think right now the average fan in Las Vegas is skeptical about the UFC in the Sphere. But what's tried and true in Las Vegas? A boxing match, which is also featuring one of the most electrifying and best boxers in the world right now in Canelo Alvarez. So it's scheduling. I think the schedule sucks for what it's worth, in my opinion. But I'm excited to see it because, like I said, I want to see what type of length the UFC goes through to use or
I don't know.
production.
And I don't know how well, Bobby, you might know too, or I don't think that it's going to be any different from a TV point of view. Do you? Because I think it's going to be the same shit we see every pay-per-view.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say. You would think probably, but the way it is, I don't see how it's not going to be on the TV. Because even if they're not like doing it for our viewpoint, it's still going to like kind of show. So you would think they'd have to have something set up with that. It was
like a
kind of
simulcast or something. Like you can look at it from the regular angle and look at it from the angle of sitting inside the Sphere. They got to do, you know what I'm saying? They have to do something to make it, to use the parameters that the Sphere provides that you can't get anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? The venue itself is what you're going for. But what tell me what I'm getting if I'm going to the Sphere that I can't get if I go sit in the freaking Apex. Well,
So
that's in my opinion.
So the only reason why he even has the access to be able to do the Sphere this time is pretty much because they were fucking him around with the Canelo fight, and they stole that arena from him. And the people that work with him at MGM, like one of them is going out of his way to make it right with Dana. So he's letting him go and do the Sphere. But the interesting thing about it is MGM is guaranteeing the gate. Because, like, when they asked Dana about the ticket sales yesterday, he literally didn't even give a fuck. He just, like, brushed it off. And they asked him, they're like, oh, well, you worried about going up against Canelo? And, you know, normally he'll be a little bit more combative with that stuff. But you could see he really didn't care. Granted, I think it's because, well, I think the Canelo being there is definitely going to hurt the Mexican fans in attendance because, you know, the seats being like $5,000 and stuff in certain areas just seems to be pretty highly priced. If you don't look at the main card, I mean, if you look at all the prelims and stuff, they're all pretty much, you know, Mexican fighters and stuff. So it's just kind of that main event that just doesn't fit that bill. But I think eventually it will kind of work itself out. But there's really going to be no way for us to notice if it's a sellout because of all the stuff going on in the Sphere. So, but I don't know if they're like changing the seating or anything like that. But it's like, what, 2 weeks away now?
I believe so. Yeah, it's like 2-3 weeks away. Hold on. I was trying to.
Yeah, you know who we need on this card if this was the old days, being that it's like you know, night, you know, Mexican night, Hispanic night, or whatever, and you know, of course we couldn't see him fight. Now we need like a Cain Velasquez sighting or something like that in this just to make it more ethnically based around like, hey, this is Mexican night, so here goes Cain Velasquez. He just pew the guy for molesting him. Here you go, stand up. You know, Cain Velasquez, what's going on?
So on the contrary to that, he will definitely be included in the Sphere broadcast aspect of them going over the whole Mexican history. So we'll probably like see some clips of his fights or something like that. I think you would see that on there because if not, that just seems like a complete throwaway not to do that.
Got to. He's home now. He's been home for a couple months. Use Cain Velasquez, bro.
They're like 20 million in the hole or something, and
yeah,
you know he doesn't care because they got Riyadh paying for it now. But he looks more excited to get this over with than 300, meaning Dana.
Yeah. So it looks like to me. First of all, I'm looking at it on StubHub. So they're gonna have the octagon, and then there's gonna be like kind of a smaller section behind, like on each side of the octagon. But the main seating is gonna be a bunch of people, like kind of like an orchestra type thing. You know?
Yeah. I know this. It reminds me of some of PFL's seating layouts and stuff because they're like in kind of smaller arenas and orchestras and stuff, and it has that like only front side view of the
instead of it being centered like in center mass, it's only from one like center stage back, right? Is that what I'm kind of getting from you guys?
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, on a positive note, I'm glad they're at least trying something different because they're so generic with just the slap and all that shit. Like, it's good to see them kind of going out and him doing something that excites him. Now, ironically, you can tell he just shot his mouth off about it and he kind of regrets talking about it. But, you know, they're going to continue to do the Mexican independence thing. So I think it kind of works with all these fighters they have on the prelims because they can probably build them to be on the main card next year. Like they're slowly creating these like new stars that no one knows of, and at least they're getting a showcase. But you know, realistically, I don't think they have you know, a star like that they could have built. Definitely not one with the title. I mean, the trilogy of the Grasso, I think, hurts that from being the main event.
Yeah.
It's $797 for is the cheapest ticket right now.
Nosebleed. What? And see,
So
this
it's gone down. Actually, it was like $1,000. It opened up at like $5,000.
Yeah. So apparently they dropped it a little bit because I was watching something on it and they claim like it's dropping and it's going to keep dropping.
It's continuing
But
to drop,
you know
yeah.
they'll eventually fill it.
Yeah.
You know, like if you live in Vegas, I'd be walking by the MGM that weekend and seeing if you don't get some free tickets handed out because you know they want it to be loud in there.
Yeah,
But,
definitely. And listen, bro, I want to say this. Like, you know, I'm not the biggest U2 fan. You know, I do know a couple songs, Elevation and all that stuff, and Bono Saves the Children and all that stuff. But like, take a minute and look at. Can we show that on your podcast without getting taken off of YouTube?
Nah,
no way.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, take a minute and just go like type in U2 concert at the Sphere and just and you don't have to listen to the song. I'm not saying watch it, but just kind of just skim through it and look at the production value that was probably added to these old songs. They make the
it's expensive to go see U2 there even.
Right, yeah. The concert was probably an average U2 concert, but the aesthetics of the Sphere made the show like a phenomenon for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And that is what I think you have to use if you're the UFC. You got to say, well, we're the UFC. We're in the Sphere. What can we do? Let's show clips here. Let's have 20 different angles. Let's, you know, have the lights go down, up. Let's use all of the technology that is built into the venue to adhere to what we want to do for Mexican Independence Night. And I don't know, throw mariachi on the screen or something. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to get creative with the venue because who knows if you can do it again and at this level where the fights are top tier, but they're not Mexican, you know, Hispanic. They gotta do something. Let's like put on a show a little bit, especially for the people that will be there in attendance.
I think he boxed himself in a little, you know, because he's been talking about it for almost a year.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to how he talked up 300.
Yeah, it's going to be the biggest thing. And then the fights were great, but the main event wasn't what we thought. And, you know, I don't know why they didn't do Max Holloway and Ilya Tapora. That would have made more sense. Like Mexican Independent Night. I mean, Spain. He's not Mexican, but he's Spanish. But they speak the same language.
From what I heard, at least, that would be a bigger slap in the face to the Mexican people than not having a Mexican on the card.
Oh, damn. So we can't get a Spaniard on a Mexican card.
Yeah.
We got to get that together, folks. Please don't think that here at Headkicks and Haymakers, we just don't know our ethnicity.
I didn't know. So I appreciate correcting me, Bobby.
Legitimately, that is the much better fight. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm excited for Merab O'Malley. But, you know, could you imagine how that would have, like, the Ilya Max at the Sphere? Like, that, like, gets your kind of head spinning and thinking.
Yeah.
And,
because, you know, those dudes are going to stand and bang. And Merab's not going to stand and, you know what I mean? Like, just their styles are.
But this would be the day where we might see Merab do something different, you know.
I don't think so.
You think he goes in and makes it? I'm on the consensus, and of course we'll talk about it more in depth later. But I'm of the consensus that he goes in there and he does exactly what Sean does not want him to do. Although Sean has been really, really good lately at stopping guys who want to take him down and wrestle him. His takedown defense has been, I want to say, like 90 to 95% in the last two fights. I read something about that earlier today. And he's been he's been practicing with, you know, D1 wrestlers basically 2 and 3 hours a day, trying to not have them keep him on the ground. So I want to see how that works. As we all know, Merab is.
Ask Henry Cejudo how that works. So Henry Cejudo is a gold medal.
Yeah, right. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, let's ask somebody who thought they was good at wrestling how Merab basically, you know, just pummeled you to death on, you know. I don't know, So, but I think it'll be exciting. Maybe
I
maybe
do want
like
to.
members in the sphere or something like.
I do want to back up real quick, Bobby. You triggered something in my brain. And me and Whit had mentioned earlier that we did. I guess Saturday night had tough finale as well. So shout out. I don't even know who they. Let me shout out these guys who they were.
I got
raise your hand if you watched every single episode of Tough this season.
I did. I watched it.
I fast forward. So honestly, I fast forward through all the bullshit. Just get to the fights.
You listen.
That's what you should
out the
do.
formula. If they got really long, story time, and the family, and here he goes in the chair in the confession booth. The fight is short, but okay, the fight is short as hell if they got all of that extra stuff going on. But like,
so shout out to Ryan Loader. He had a TKO. He was the middleweight tough winner, and Marion Santos put the Ophelia to sleep.
Right.
Loader beat the hands down favorite in the entire competition.
The hands down favorite in the show.
Like that is a very impressive win. That it's interesting to see where he's going to go.
And I'm with you on that one, Rob. He was definitely Valentine. The whole show, he was pretty much in everybody. He was in everybody's corner. Well,
he was basically the coach, in my opinion.
Yeah, he had we had maybe the very first fight that season. And then for the rest of the season, he's pretty much in everybody's corner, coaching them up, giving them praise, showing them how to do it, whatever. And like you could tell, he was not playing in the semifinals. And I'm gonna say this real quick, and Bobby, like you said, you watched the show, so you probably saw it too. That episode with Ryan Loader, where he was like, "I didn't know I was dyslexic. They told me I wasn't smart. There are other people like me, and I found out that I was good at wrestling, and then I stuck to it, and blah blah blah." And I'm about to cry watching that guy. He was like, "You're not alone if they don't think you're smart." I was just like, "You can call me." I was like, "Man, look, man, I bet you he blowing up on social media right now." And sure enough, he is living the dream. And what's my guy's name? Michael Bisping said he came to recruit his son 4 or 5 years ago to go D1, to go to the D1 school, some D1 school. And he told him, because it's Michael Bisping, hey, I want to get in the UFC too. I want to be involved. 4 years later, look at what happens. He's in the ring winning the Ultimate Fighter Championship. I thought that was pretty dope too.
Yeah, let me ask you though, like they haven't changed the format in Tough all the 20 years. It's the same. It's literally the same shit. It's shit. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's shit. I enjoy the Contender Series, but they got to either get rid of Tough or change the format or do something different.
This season,
it's the real world with fighting. Everybody, that's one thing we don't have anymore. And Bobby's from that generation, Bob, as you are too. Remember the real world and how fun it was to look at people who you didn't know go through shit and get drunk and fight. It is the real world, but with MMA, and they haven't done justice to what I think they could do with the product. I've been in the mindset of they need to have a grudge match somewhere in there. Two guys that lost, that don't like each other, need to fight just because y'all in there just wrestling and training and sweating around each other and not liking each other and talking trash. There were two or three real, hey, look at these two guys. I think I would just want to see them fight just because this past season. You know what I'm saying? My guy, I can't think of his name right now. My guy was drunk all the time. They were talking about him.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, yo, he's drunk now. Look at him. He's drinking. He's got something in his cup. He went and put more in his cup. Everybody didn't like him. And he lost. I would have loved to see, Dana White needs to get in there and go, all right, look, so since you guys aren't fighting, we're going to have one fight in the middle. We're going to draw straws, and we're going to have y'all banging out one time for a couple thousand just to see 2 rounds. Let's see who gets in there and really proves themselves. I mean, just to add a little more spice to it, because just like you said, because it gets to the end of the show, and poof, the fight ends, and now there's nothing else to watch.
Yeah, this season highlighted to me they don't need the coaches anymore. Like I would rather them do like veteran coaches and then not do teams. So you bring the fighters in and they can train with whoever they want that day or that week, because the whole point of the thing is to get better to fight in the UFC. And this season highlighted they don't do that shit at all. All
No.
they do is get the meat ready to fight, and then they're like, okay, you ready to cut weight? Like, and you know, it's taking place very like fast. You know, it's not like week to week like they make it seem. And yeah, it could definitely use a revamp, but you know, if they could, they'd make Contender 365 days a year, but there's just not enough heads. So, but I could see why it definitely needs a revamp, but at the same time, I still always end up watching it. But it's always just the fighting that you watch, you know. Okay.
Yeah, I fast forward to everything else, and I'm like, I don't care about your backstory. Let me get to the fighting.
Come on, you guys don't like that? Come on, what country are you from? Oh, you went to Thailand? Oh, how long you been in Thailand? So you've been practicing Thai, but you've been wrestling in Germany. So you really
this season was a little better at it because they are all, you know, international and stuff. So it worked a lot better. But like the season before, it was just like, okay, insert like sob story here, and this is why you want to be a fighter.
You ever watch The Voice? You ever watch The Voice where it's like you knew that they were going to hit the guy? It's like, my grandpa died when I was a boy. He only had one eye, and he used to sing to me this song, and he gave me this guitar pick on his deathbed, and right before my dog died at the same time, and you're like, oh shit, they're gonna turn the chair. That's what the tough shit is to me.
Shout out to our pop culture references. We talked about the real world and The Voice today.
Yeah, and then what was I always forget that the other kid that won with that
Marion
the big KO. Yeah.
Santos.
I mean
Khan was good this season though. Khan was really good this season before the finale. Everybody was pretty much trying to duck him. But Marion Santos, he proved me wrong because I was going the other way with it, to be honest.
I sent him out.
Yeah, he's big for that weight class. I mean, you saw him you know, have trouble cutting on for the semi fight.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, he could he's going to be interesting and fun to watch. But it was kind of wild because you thought, oh, those are I'm glad they put those on the main card, you know, because that entire card more or less delivered. You had the odd hour of only one fight because a fight got canceled, so the pacing was a little wonky. But after they fixed that and the female Joker came out, like we were just off to the races. And I mean, everyone's talking about what's next.
Wayne Kong.
Yeah, Wayne Kong.
Yeah. Remember that name.
Give Wayne Kong a title shot. She's old. I don't even want to wait around having you can have her fight Casey O'Neill, but just give it to us now. I mean, she has a kickboxing win over Valentina. You know, you can make an argument like, oh, it's the Alex Pereira path. So I'm sure they'll get her up there soon. You know, I'm exaggerating when I say give her the title shot now, but like I want, you know, that get her at the top of the division. Do not have her on the curtain jerker of the prelims. I'm glad she called him out for that. Hopefully that works to her advantage. You know, with a viral knockout like that, it should. I mean, that was but imagine if that was in front of a crowd.
Hey, and this out there too, man. Shout out to Gerald Mershart and Edmonds Jabizian. Now the Mershart choke, I thought that was a pretty dope fight. I was somewhere. Gerald
Mershart have like, what do you have? More submission wins than Anderson Silva or something like that. He's like the all-time.
Such a wild stat.
Didn't he tie it or something?
I mean, that's like Neil Magny being the all-time welterweight winner over GSP, and
Neil gets knocked out. Shout out to Neil get taken out, then TKO. But yeah, that Mershart fight was worth it. And Bobby said it, brother. The card was I'm talking about from the beginning to the end. It wasn't a snooze fest, which oftentimes it is in the Apex. Even the Hill and Ricci fight was good, for a strawweight bout. You know what I
The
mean?
pace in that was insane.
Yeah. How are they still going toe to toe like right now after the second round? I don't know, but I thought that was good. So this was and that's why I was laughing. I was tweeting Bobby. I was looking for Botkins. There was not enough Apex slander, but in real life, this was a really pretty good card.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I slandered it was the beginning when the fight got canceled and they took us back to the desk 3 times. But other than that, like, I didn't bitch about it being in the Apex once. Like, every fight kept your attention. And, I don't mean to over exaggerate, but I'm having trouble thinking of what Apex card this year has been better than that card from top to bottom. Like,
I'd have to look. There probably hasn't been.
Next week's card could hopefully rival it. So hopefully we go in with that same energy.
I think that's the last Apex card of the year too.
Yeah, I don't buy that for a second. Dana shut that shit down. Like, come on, man. Like, we're talking about the most greediest motherfucker in the world. You don't think he's going to make them fight like during the construction?
True that.
Like,
hey, watch out the beams right there. Move out the way. Move the shit.
We're gonna cut it on. They're gonna have guys in construction hats walking around in the background and whatnot.
I would love it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't even know what they do without their little precious Apex.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna find out. So I mean, we talked about the Contender Series real quick. Dana's always got these pressers are always interesting. Last night, no different. I mean, last week he's talking about how he doesn't know shit about the embedded thing. This week he's literally it's like he's just signing up to defend John Jones. Me and Bobby were kind of talking about this off air. I said I think Dana's problem is he's getting GOAT and pound for pound mixed up. Like, to me, there is probably no debate. John Jones probably the GOAT, him or GSP. To me, I know some people might say Khabib, but I don't. Jones is undefeated, so I give it to Jones with the more fights than Khabib. But then, like, pound for pound right now, I just can't say that. And he keeps saying, well, he is fighting. He is signed up to fight. He is signed up to fight. He did fight over a year ago. By the time he fights, it'll be almost 2 years ago. So it's insane. Bobby, what do you make of these crazy ass Dana White Tuesday night press conferences?
If you don't care about watching those Contender Series fights, which I don't understand why people don't enjoy it, but those press conferences are worth tuning in alone. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if they bring the real question bag into them. I mean, shout out to Kevin Ioli. Both of those have been his questions. John Morgan actually started that pushback yesterday. So it was kind of interesting to see that. At the same time, I think Dana is trolling the fuck out of him because, you can tell he's reading the comments with stuff he's saying. And then the way they're asking him these questions, it was pretty wild to just see him going back and forth. It was almost like watching two people debate politics. It's like, they're not going to agree. And, it very well might get heated. But those are, I'm not going to lie. I value those press conferences far more than a pay-per-view press conference. In those press conferences, he's tired. If you ask him a stupid question, he looks at you like, what are you doing?
How about last week, and it goes into this week too, him calling Merab a fucking idiot. I mean, for Merab posted, which is dumb. I think we might have even talked about it last week. I don't remember about, first Merab posting the picture of him having a cut on his eye. Why would you do that? Now everybody knows that there's, you have a cut on your head. And Dana just going in on him last week. And then this week,
all-time liner. Our people are so stupid.
Yeah, our people are so fucking stupid. He's like, our people are so fucking stupid. And then this week, Marab posted a picture of him cutting the stitches out of his eye. And Dana's like, I think he's trolling me at this point in time because like it is what it is. Like it's why. First of all, Marab is just his social media game is taken off. He's on another level. He's one of the top social media people, like MMA wise. I feel like whoever he's paying to do all this stuff, kudos to him. But that was dumb, and I agree with Dana. But it's just these press conferences on Tuesday nights are must see TV.
Yeah, I hate when I agree with him too, but it's always like you can see where he's coming from with that one because that isn't like pulling out of some random pay-per-view. Like the video package alone, like for a second I was wondering, I'm like, are they gonna like swap him out with Umar and hope nobody notices? Like, what happens if he actually pulls out of the fight? Granted, it never was going to get to that point, but I'm glad Dana at least like acknowledged, well, I'm sure he's just trolling with me at this point because that was, but I will say what Marab has ensured is this will be his one and only title shot, so he better make it count.
Yeah.
If that fight ends in a draw, Umar's getting the next title shot.
Yeah, like, it might not come back to Sean, definitely.
Yeah, so he, but at the same time, like I saw Aljo sticking up for him, and I get why he would because that's his boy. But I don't know, Marab. You might not want to be listening to Aljamain on how to get Dana White on your good side because then you'll get Hunter Campbell telling you why this is great for your legacy to fight.
You can take all his fans. You can take all his fans, Marab.
Yeah. So, but they're. I'm really excited for that fight, but that was not wise. But hey, it's got us talking about it, so it's probably. Sadly, Marab is doing more promoting for this fight than anything the UFC has done.
I get because it's on the Sphere, so they just expect everybody to say it's because of the Sphere.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Wait, before we get out of here, what we got going on in the boxing world?
Oh man, so big news. August is pretty much over, ladies and gentlemen, and the month of September has some really, really big fights. Almost like 3 huge pay-per-views going on. Some not necessarily back to back, but maybe a week in between. The third, we got the Chinese Demon. I hate to say it like that, but that's kind of like what the word that they call him in China means, or Japan means, if I'm not mistaken. So we got Inway versus Duaney. Duaney out here, doing the Irish mob thing. I think this is a really good fight. But they fight on the 3rd. At super bantamweight, and for me, this is one of those things where this is a unification bout for the IBF, the WBC, the WBC World Super Bantamweight, the WBO, and the WBA Super World Bantamweight. So this is a unification where 5 belts will be exchanged to the winner, and of course, Inway is up right now as far as betting is concerned. Then on the 21st. We got Anthony Joshua, going up against my guy Daniel Dubois. Finally, we get Anthony Joshua to fight somebody. They're going toe-to-toe for the IBF heavyweight belt that Alexander Usyk vacated so he can fight Tyson Fury again in December. Then, like we also mentioned, we got the big deal. We got the biggest deal in boxing, so to speak, is Alvarez Berlanga the same night as the UFC Noche goes down in Vegas. Do you know what I mean? This is one of those times where I wish we had the cachet just to be like, all right, Botkins, go ahead and call out. We don't even gotta go to either event just to be in Vegas while the UFC has the Sphere and Canelo has I forgot where the Canelo fight is actually.
MGM Grand.
Yeah, the MGM Grand, right? Come on, bro. Like this Vegas is going to be so popping that weekend. But once again, September is going to be a big month for the world of boxing, and pretty much that with the next biggest thing after that is going to be what happens in December when Usyk and Fury fight again. But man, I really can't wait. You know, this N-Way fight, low key, this N-Way fight he's a very exciting little guy. He's fast. He can hit with power in either hand. So let's see exactly what happens. And of course, he's undefeated. But the biggest name, like we already mentioned, is Canelo Berlanga. If Canelo and Berlanga get in there and somehow, some way, we get any hint that Canelo is slowing down, but you know, we will also figure out what goes on. What I think is the biggest thing is, though, Canelo mentioned it with Kamaru Usman and what's my guy? They do the podcast. Who did Kamaru Usman do the podcast with?
Cejudo?
Yeah. So I watched that whole thing. Canelo isn't dumb by far. Let me tell y'all that. Okay, Canelo is not dumb. Very, very careful with his word usage, I think is a good way to put it. He knows what the people from Riyadh season want. He has already said out loud, we know, we all saw when Turkey Al Sheikh got on there and said Canelo's people got the paperwork on pay-per-view. Everybody heard it. Canelo said he's got to respect me. While I'm fighting Berlanga, I'm not worried about nothing else. But when I'm done with Berlanga, I'll read over it. I'll take it. I'll look into it. That's a smart man, because everything can change in the blink of an eye if he goes out here and washes Berlanga. And then they're going to try and throw Crawford at him. So, you know, but of course, everybody wants to see Hernandez in there with Canelo. So there's a way to do it, and I feel like Canelo's, you know, past the bravado or the going crazy and saying, yeah, I'll take him out too in the middle of the fight. No. Canelo's like, Berlanga first, business after that will come to him. So I can't wait to see it. I'm excited. And of course, we're going to talk about it in 2 weeks.
Hell yeah. If you're fancy any wrestling, we got Bash at Berlin on Saturday. So some good fights that. So yeah, there's a little bit of mixed something on. Whether
there's a BKFC on Saturday too.
Oh, yeah. What's that at? Is that the one where the Bane Davis is fighting?
No, that's in like another week or two, I think.
Oh,
I think that one's in like later on in September or something. But I saw a video where
the guy got was that the one where the guy got his eye knocked out last week when you was watching it, Bobby?
No, well, the one last week, I thought there was a BKFC, and I waited up for it, and because it's on the Thriller app, and they had it labeled as BKFC. I turned the thing on, it's just got like this one camera angle for like 30 minutes, and then they finally like walked the fighters out. These motherfuckers were fighting with boxing gloves and headgear. And I was like, oh, great. I just wasted like a half hour of my life waiting for this shit. So I believe this Saturday is
that's not BKFC at all.
Yeah, no, I think this one is BKFC that's coming up. It's kind of like their version of the Contender Series. But they normally have it on Friday, but I think this one's on Saturday. So but yeah, that all right, do you think, going back to Anthony Joshua, do you like him taking that fight?
To be honest with you, what the idea is, Anthony Joshua is a business/busy fighter. The business of fighting in England is one in which, where you get Eddie Hearn involved, he likes to keep those guys like revolving in the ring as much as possible. This will be the third time.
Yeah, third fight. Yeah, this year I think.
Third fight. Yeah,
what? I guess like Christmas Eve. It's third time in 12 months.
Yeah, third time in 12 months. You know, and then the Ngannou fight. Although I wanted to see more, it wasn't really a fight. You know what I'm saying? So, he didn't take any damage. It was nothing crazy. So I understand. But fighting Dubois is dangerous because Dubois does exactly everything that Anthony Joshua does not like. To me. And you know, maybe I should have thought about this before I said it. The fight that happened from in LA with Riyadh season with where Big Baby got knocked out and then Ortiz had to fight. those two fights right there are going to somehow parallel what we see happen as a result of the Anthony Joshua Dubois fight, because he's got to see one of those guys. Maybe not Ortiz with his broken hand, but there's a lot of speculation as to what happens with Big Baby now that he took a loss, and he, of course, he was pretty much the next thing to fight Anthony Joshua. Yeah, but we saw how that went. And now, what are we going to see after he gets done with Dubois? If he gets past Dubois, because Dubois is not a sleeper, and by no means is he somebody to be slept on. So I think he did the right thing by taking the fight. Yes, to answer the question, but he has to, like Anthony Joshua, almost has to go pretty much not do anything for at least half of next year, based on the fact of who they put in the ring, what happens with Usyk and Fury, because everybody somehow has been clamoring for him to finally fight Fury after like 4 years of it not happening. And you don't want it to happen in a sense of almost like what took place with Deontay Wilder. You don't want Fury to lose, so you lose out on making the big payday, and somehow, some way, the last two fighters in that revolving door are going to have to put their life on pause to see what happens with these two. So it's a crazy thing when you see what happens with the heavyweight division, but it's happening. It's exciting, and unfortunately, we really won't know like who's going to be on top until maybe January. But I'm excited to see September and December from now.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to hold out to wait for that fight, but at the same time, I couldn't have blamed him if he did, because knowing that the Usyk Fury rematch was always a thing, it doesn't shock me that he took another fight. So hopefully he gets that done, so we can see that one down the road, because that's what I want to see.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head, bro. Like, the Fury Usyk thing was set up for two fights, unless it was what pretty much happened with Crawford and Smith, where if Fury would have went in there and walked Usyk, it might not happen, or vice versa. If Usyk would have just walked Fury, then maybe we wouldn't be worrying about it, and we would be pretty much preparing for Anthony Joshua to fight either one of them. But now, we have to be held in suspense to see what happens with Anthony Joshua, to make sure that he completes the task that Eddie Hearn set him up for. And then we have to also wait for what goes on with Fury and Usyk. And then, the rotating door of who is the IBF heavyweight champion or goes for undisputed, as they try to it'll be a unification bout. If anybody fights Anthony Joshua from the Fury Usyk winner, that's a unification bout. We have to see somehow, some way what happens, man. But once again, heavyweight boxing has not been as exciting in a long time.
So Aaron, that's next week. Yeah. That's next week, Aaron. We'll talk about that next Wednesday. So tune in. I was wondering what he was talking about at first. But then I saw this, the Sean Brady decision. That's next week. So tune in next week, 8:00 Central, right here, 9 Eastern, for a new episode of Headkicks and Haymakers, and we'll talk about that card. We'll be here. So, hey, real quick before we get out here, I was checking something. I thought something was breaking on, and I was about what something Dana said, but then I double checked it before I said it, so I didn't want to be one of those guys. I didn't believe it.
I'm so curious what it was.
It's in the Discord. It's in the Discord. It's in the Discord, Bobby. And I was like, when did he say this? Because then I went into Twitter and IG and was like, I didn't see anything that Dana said this. So, no, you're good, Aaron. You're good. We appreciate it. I just want to let you know, if you're trying to tune in this Saturday night to watch some fights, you ain't going to be watching them because they ain't going to be on. But wait, real quick, is he just taking this fight to kind of wait out the winner of Usyk and Fury?
Are you talking about is Anthony Joshua just taking this fight?
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna win this fight, and then I'm just gonna take the winner of Fury and Usyk.
I think it's pretty much, his relationship with Eddie Hearn is one as such where, Eddie got a plan. Eddie has a plan, no matter who else isn't thinking about it. And they've been connected so long that I think when the Ngannou fight happened, he took absolutely no damage. It was a walk. It was a ton of money for 20, 40, 50, 60, 100 million for what? 2 minutes? 3.5?
He went to the second round at least.
Yeah, I mean, well, 3.5 of hard work. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't think I think that it was somebody was going to fight Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was going to fight someone, no matter what. Definitely because of how the fight went down.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the show. We'll be back next week, next Wednesday, 8:00 Central, 9 Eastern. How about next week too? We'll do our pound for pound because there's no fights this week, so we'll get Bobby's pound for pound and our pound for pound as well. Bobby's
Hey, Bobby, pound for pound.
It's your top 10 pound for pound men and women, Bobby, and then we'll look at next week's card as well.
Oh, good Lord! Probably have to make one then.
Yeah, you're gonna have to write it down. You have to, write it down. Yeah, we talked a little bit of that. Bobby mentioned BKFC is on as well. So watch a little bit.
At least I know I'm not crazy, and it's some random shit in headgear. So good.
I mean, I see some shit. People fighting in the cars and shit, man. It's just weird.
Oh my god, they got them boys fighting in phone booths now.
Yeah, all types of shit. Anyway. Wow. If you're real hard on for crazy shit, you can find it. But nonetheless, for my guy Whip, my guy Bobby, I'm Bodkins. This has been another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. If you missed some of it, Aaron, go feel free to follow back and hit the subscribe button. We will be back 8:00 Central, 9 Eastern next Wednesday. We'll give out our pound for pound men's and women's, and then we'll look at the next to Apex card, baby.
It's going to be a banger.
Headlined by Sean Brady versus who else is he fighting?
Gilbert Burns.
Oh, yeah, Burns.
Another fight that's a travesty. It's at the Apex, but I'll take it. It's a good fight.
If it's Gilbert,
another up-and-comer versus another old dog. You know what I mean?
If it's Gilbert Burns with a fro, it's dangerous.
All right, y'all. Be a friend, tell a friend. We'll see you next week. I'm gonna hit that outro, folks.
Hey. I'll give you